Umpires, huge way that players get mentally unfocused. You cannot control umpires, and coaches, this goes for you. This starts with you. Um, if we're ever playing a team where the coach starts making excuses, using the umpire as an excuse, I'm no matter what the talent looks like, as long as it's somewhat comparable, I'm pretty sure that we're going to come out ahead on that game. Because we all get mad when our players make excuses, right? It's too cold out. I lost it in the sun. It was windy. So and so didn't do their job, so I couldn't do my job. And if we are constantly on umpires making excuses, we got screwed, this, that, and the other thing, then we can't possibly expect our players to ignore what's going on with the umpires, and they're going to start using them as an excuse. They're going to come back to the dugout after flying out to right field, and they're going to go, man, that 0-1 pitch was 6 inches outside, put me in a hole. There was nothing I could do about it. Well, yes, there is something you could do about it. If you put a ball and play hard with an 0-2 count, you wouldn't be the first person in the history of the game to do that. So we as coaches need to set the example about umpires. I do have discussions with umpires. I do disagree with their calls, but I don't ever use it as an excuse for a reason why we didn't play well or as a reason why we're losing or will lose a game. Never. It's never happened. I will never let that happen. You cannot control the umpires, and to be honest with you, I feel like our approach actually helps us in a way, because I think that umpires are a little bit more they tend to like our team because we don't have guys who are on them. They don't make comments to them. And so if the other team is, umpires are human beings, and if you like someone, you're more likely to be favorable towards them when you're making judgments. Umpires are not perfect. Sometimes they're not even good, but you can't do anything about that. They are totally out of your control. And again, we think we get more calls because of our attitude. I try to tell our players to get to know the umpires. Part of what we do is teaching kids how to build relationships. So our catcher is really important. They talk to the umpires, get to know them a little bit, build a relationship with them. And I think all those things kind of go into maybe us getting a few more calls. We know that umpires are going to make mistakes. Just like we're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. Our players are going to make mistakes. And so we have to be accepting of those mistakes and just play the game, even though sometimes they don't turn out our way. Failure, the best players in Major League Baseball fail. And this is, I think, the greatest thing about baseball is it is the best teacher of failure of any sport. Because if you shot 30% from the field as a basketball player, or if you completed 30% of your passes as an NFL quarterback, or hit 30% of your field goals as an NFL kicker, you would not be an NFL quarterback, you would not be an NFL kicker, you would not be an NBA player. But if you succeed 30 to 40% of the time by getting on base in Major League Baseball, then you're pretty darn good. And so you'll stick in the major leagues. And so baseball is a great teacher of failure. The best players in major leagues make out 60% of the time. Why would a high school kid be any different? Why would you expect that or why would they expect, because I think most coaches understand, but why would a high school kid expect that to be any different? That they would make less than 60% outs. So they have to accept the fact that there is going to be failure, and it's how we deal with that failure that really makes a difference in the long run. Great players will fail less, but they deal with failure better, which also makes them fail less. If you don't deal very well with failure, you're going to fail more. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more it bothers you, the more you'll fail, and the more you fail, the more it'll bother you. They have to break that cycle. So they have to get out of it. So obviously failure makes us upset, but it's really how we deal with it that's going to make the huge difference. Great John Wooden quote here. And unfortunately, a lot of our players don't really know who John Wooden is. I try to explain to them and show them everything he's done. But the quote is, "Show me someone who has never failed, and I will show you someone who has never achieved." And so no matter what you do, you're going to fail at it. At some point, you're going to fail. Otherwise, you're probably not pushing yourself very hard, and you're not setting goals that are difficult to achieve. All right, so how to play the game one pitch at a time. A great phrase that I've heard from several people. So what? Next pitch. Who cares about what happened? Great. It's over. It's done with. Next pitch. The past is behind you, and you can control what you can control. And if you can't control it, there's no reason to worry about it. Just deal with it as it comes to you. So we know umpires are out of our control. Our opponent's out of our control. If we show up one day, we were having a great year. I forget what year it was. We were having a fantastic year, hitting the ball all over the yard, just playing great. We show up to the park one day, a team we'd never played before, and they've got a kid on the mound throwing 90 to 92 with an absolutely amazing slider. And he was just putting the ball in a teacup that day. So what can we do about that, right? We've seen that maybe once, and we've never seen someone with that much control and that much velocity and that much of an explosive breaking pitch. So we battled, we competed, but what can you do, right? You can't change the opponent. You can't go change their pitcher. Say, well, he's too good. We need someone a little bit, not as good, so that we can have some success today. You can't control your opponent. So even though we lost that game, I still feel like we competed. We were just overmatched. And then the question is, would you rather play well against a good opponent and lose, or play poorly against a bad opponent and win? And I guess sort of for coaches, the answer to that is, well, that depends on when it is. If it's the regular season, then we'd probably rather play well against a good opponent and lose. But obviously, the name of the game in the postseason is winning. So, but in general, we try to look at how we played the game, not necessarily the outcome of the game. And then also look at how your play, attitude, decisions benefit the team. All right, when we're hitting, we want our guys to develop a pre-pitch routine. We do this in practice. Their at-bat starts when the helmet goes on, and that happens when they're in the hole. When they're on deck, they're looking at timing, watching tendencies, and picking up release point. Our base runners are looking at his tendencies in the stretch. So guys who are going to run a lot, they're looking at his timing in the stretch. We're going to have a plan for each pitch. And then we want our guys to get a cleansing breath right before they go into their focus point. And so they're going to take a soft focus point, which is something in the bat or in the dugout, or on their bat or in the dugout, and then they're going to switch their hard focus point to the release point for the pitcher. Fielding, we need to understand and know our pre-pitch positioning. So we don't shift based on fastball, breaking ball, but we do shift based on tendencies we've seen with hitters, and then also what we generally know about a hitting lineup. Again, we have a soft focus. We're in a relaxed position. We're going to take a cleansing breath prior to our footwork and then get into our hard focus, which is going to be in the hitting zone. Do not follow the ball in as it's traveling. We focus in on the hitting zone. You can see the ball travel in out of your periphery. And then we want to have consistent footwork. So we want every single pitch to be the same, essentially. And then, as we mentioned before, we want our infielders to always have situational awareness. So that's what playing the game one pitch at a time looks like from a fielding standpoint. From pitching, they have to understand they are in complete control of the game. They have to know their stuff for that day. Some days you have a slider. Some days you have a changeup. Some days you don't. Some days you can't locate your fastball on the glove side. Sometimes you can't locate your fastball on the arm side. Sometimes you have everything. You have to know your stuff for the day, and you have to communicate that. I do call pitches for our team, but you have to communicate that to me, what's working that day, what's not working that day. And then if something's not working, you've got 5 pitches in between innings. Try to find it. See what you can do to find that. Also know the umpire. There are 3 strike zones. There's your strike zone, there's the hitter's strike zone, there's the umpire strike zone. The umpire strike zone is the only one that matters. Okay? Because if you throw a pitch that you think's in the outside corner and he doesn't call it a strike, it's not a strike. Okay, so you have to know the umpire's strike zone. If he's giving you 6 inches off the outside corner, well, then put the ball 6 inches off the outside corner. No one's going to hit it, and it's going to be called a strike. And then we also tell our pitchers to eliminate distractions. This link here, this is a link to the Clear the Mechanism scene in For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. So we show them that just to kind of get them to see what it looks like when you really go into that hard focus area. So how do we build championships? We build them one pitch at a time. And as we mentioned at the beginning, you never know when a championship is won or lost. We don't know that play that happened in 2010, the robbed home run. We don't know when that happened. We don't know when we lost those extra few inches off the ball. Okay, we don't know when we put ourselves in a situation in that game where that would have required a come from behind walk-off home run. We don't know those things. But what we do know is that if we work hard and prepare every day, then we give ourselves the best chance to win a championship. So hopefully you can use that with your players. You can either show them that and have them listen to that, or I'm also leaving the PowerPoint down there so that you can adjust it to meet your individual needs. So if you tweak a few things, add some pictures from your team, make it individualized. You might have a few other ideas, some different ideas, some better ideas. So that's there for you as a resource. But I do recommend, everyone says that the game is half mental and the other half is physical, and then we probably work on the mental part of the game like 2% of the time. But I do recommend really, start the season off with this or something like it, and then come back to it as needed, and then really refocus your team at the end of the year with it. So thanks for everything. I'm glad that you guys are following along with us here. And as always, if there's anything that you think you need from me, to help yourself, help your team, have the best year you can, don't hesitate to contact me, Kyle at cornerstonecoachingacademy.com.